and welcome to Cartoon Calamity. We are your Calamities. I'm Connor. I'm here with Lily.
Hi!
And today we're going to be covering Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Woo!
If you don't know what we do here, basically we like cartoons. I would say we love cartoons. We love talking about cartoons. And every week we kind of take a new cartoon, hit it with a 3-episode rule, and see if it holds up to today's modern scrutiny.
Modern scrutiny.
Today's scrutiny.
What is
to see if it holds up to today's standards.
Today's standards?
To see if
what is modern scrutiny, Connor?
Modern scrutiny is I guess like a mix of contemporary media studies mixed with like whatever the Overton window is.
I love buzzwords that only work in like academic texts.
If this is cancelable, X if it funny still.
That's it. That's the podcast down to its bare bones. We can retire now.
So if any of you out there have recording equipment that want to make a podcast too, that's all you gotta do. Just pick any piece of media you want and see if it's cancelable. And then if it passes the test after 3 episodes, hell yeah, there you go.
Woo! I guess. Fuck it. Oh no, our source code. No!
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends is one of, if not, the most accolade-ridden series that Cartoon Network has ever put on or produced.
And rightfully so.
Completely. The show ran for 6 seasons from 2004 to 2009. It won 5 Annie Awards and 7 Emmy Awards. And I think it was nominated for 35 to 38 awards in total.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, which is insane.
Yeah, like that's fucking crazy. Like, how long did it run again? Sorry? 5 years. 5 years. So that's not a huge amount.
No, in the scheme of things, no. Like 6 seasons is a chunky like spree. Considering that's what's that, 104 episodes?
Something like that, yeah. I suppose I'm still in the kind of time frame of anime. So it's 104? That's grand.
So you're just thinking like, oh, that's just one season, maybe 2 arcs.
That's fine. That's like what was Water 7 in One Piece? Like 200 episodes?
Jesus Christ! What? But yeah, so the show is it's fantastic, and the creator of this show, Craig McCracken, who you definitely will remember from last episode when we talked about, who you'll definitely remember from 2 episodes ago when we talked about.
What is continuity?
When we talked about his other show, Powerpuff Girls.
Yes, Craig McCracken was involved. He
was the creator. He's the creator of Powerpuff Girls, as also the creator of Foster's Home.
Yeah, absolutely. And also Lauren Faust is also involved in Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Lauren Faust as well, animation royalty. The two of them, possibly the biggest animation power couple known to man.
100%.
Maybe with the exception of the guy who created Hunter x Hunter and the girl who created Sailor Moon.
Ooh. Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, 100%.
Talk about Americans, though. Craig McCracken and Lauren Faust, all the way.
Yeah, they're the highest, I guess. I'd say almost near the highest rung when it comes to like the escalation of I don't want to bring it up, but like kind of auteurs, I guess, in the medium of animation, right?
So I fucking hate auteur theory. I'm not sure if you remember.
Yeah, I hate it too, but it's the only thing that's coming to mind as a good enough like example of someone like a pair that have like succeeded in like character driven stories, not even character driven stories, in like very, very good the animated series with very similar kind of like levels of quality.
Okay, I get that much, but also for anyone who doesn't know, listening to this, auteur theory is the theory in film studies that originates from French filmmaking, like very, very early, like turn of the century type shit. And it was basically the theory that the director is kind of the sole, almost owner of the film and is like the main person. And a lot of people in film really don't like it because it ignores the rest of the crew. And I, for one, think that the rest of the crew is actually quite important, and the director is sometimes up its own hole, particularly French directors, who are weighed down by their massive brains, which are just filled with nothing.
Yeah, the show was produced by Cartoon Network Studios, and it was primarily animated in Ireland by Boulder Media.
Oh, nice. I think we've mentioned it before, but like Ireland, again, home to just wonderful animators and animation studios, like world class, genuinely. Song of the Sea, Brown Bag Films, our very own Kiro Shakusi, who's at Classic Kiro on Twitter, follower. Wonderful animators all around in this country. We're if I do say so myself, we're fairly fucking talented people.
Yep. And, there's nothing more than I love the nationalism than tooting my own horn. So, yeah, all of us Irish are the best.
I'm going to suck my own dick wrapped in a tricolor, and you can't stop me.
You know how hard it is to actually... Like, it's actually really difficult to do that,
hard.
You know?
I mean,
it's
like,
so
I've heard
difficult.
it's not that hard.
I have spent so many fucking... Like, when I was younger, all right? Yeah. I've spent so many sleepless nights fucking throwing my legs over my shoulders.
Sit in a chair, you're done. That's all you need to do.
What I try and do is have you ever seen the movie Short Bus?
No. What is it?
This is like such a tangent. All right, so think of like a movie, right? Yeah. But if like you know how like in movies people like characters like talk to each other to convey emotions, right? Yeah. In Short Bus they have sex.
Oh, fun.
Right?
Was that just a porn?
No.
Okay.
It was almost like anti-porn.
It was anti-porn. Cool.
Because it took the cinematic language of like sex scenes in film, but tried to put them onto the sincerity moments of like character drama, right?
Fun. Okay.
So yeah, basically there's a scene where like there's like a character trying to like I guess kind of like come to a revelation of like the ability to love himself while trying to suck his own dick, right?
I mean, loving yourself is important. That's true.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can reach that nirvana through sucking your own dick. In my experience, it's just been a case of like, oh, I can do that. Okay. I'm not saying that I can. Again, I've just heard from people.
Oh, yo, we got them. We fucking got them, all right? This is it.
I hope my mom doesn't listen to this. Fucking hell.
At this point, who cares? It's more viewers. Let's go.
Mom, if you are listening to this, I'm sorry, but like algorithm, you know? Whatever.
They'll understand, okay?
No, they won't.
The cast, Mac is our kind of protagonist of the show. He's an imaginative 8-year-old boy.
A quarter of his head is hair.
Yeah, and a quarter of his body scale. No, sorry, half his body scale is a head. Mm-hmm. So, he's the very imaginative, very pure-hearted kind of brains of the cast.
He's one of the few child protagonists I've run into that doesn't infuriate me. He's actually quite a nice boy, genuinely.
Yeah. And he is the best friend / imaginer of Blue. Mm-hmm. He's voiced by Sean Marquette, who's also the voice of young Firelord Sozin.
Nice, sweet.
We have then Blue Regard Q Kazoo, Mac's eccentric imaginary friend, who is voiced by Keith Ferguson, who's the voice of Reaper from Overwatch.
Which, if Overwatch ever want to make all the money in the world, just release like a voice pack for like €2. That's instead of Reaper's voice, it's Blue's voice, but nothing else changes.
So Keith Ferguson has been in a lot of other projects. He's the Adventure Time, the Lego Movie, Robot Chicken, and it's within Robot Chicken where he's done a lot of like impersonations, and you can kind of tell that he's doing kind of a Owen Nicholson impression.
Who's Owen Nicholson?
Isn't it Owen Nicholson?
Who?
The WoW guy? Oh my god.
Owen Wilson.
Wilson. Thank you.
Owen Nicholson? Were you confusing him with Jack fucking Nicholson?
I think I just did. I need to write more notes so I don't do this again.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Owen Wilson. You know?
He does a Jack Nicholson impression midway through. Yeah. I'm doing one of Jack Nicholson getting a lobotomy at the very end.
Oh, no.
Keith Ferguson is doing a kind of I'm gonna say Owen Nicholson, an Owen Wilson impression for Blue Regard Q Kazoo, which was kind of slightly altered. And you kind of tell the similarities between them.
A little bit, like it's a nasally voice, but it's not terribly annoying. Like it sounds like what a child's imaginary friend would sound like, you know?
Yeah.
And in that regard, like it hits the nail on the head, really.
We have Wilt, the towering, friendly red giant, voiced by Phil Lamar. Mm-hmm. If you listen to our podcast at all, you've definitely heard us mention Phil Lamar, the voice behind Samurai Jack, as well as a plethora of other characters. Some of the ones we haven't mentioned are Aquaman from Justice League, and I believe we haven't mentioned the his role as John Stewart, Green Lantern from Justice League Unlimited.
Nice. Sweet.
Or Tucker's dad from Danny Phantom.
Yeah, he basically has a lot of range because he can play those kind of deep, booming superhero voices, or like he can do Wilt, who is just a lovely person and just far too good for his own good, if that makes sense.
Yeah. He's apologized to the point of parody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a trauma response, is what we call it in the biz.
And us armchair psychologists are very, very capable.
Armchair psychologist? I fucking lived it. What the fuck do you mean?
One of the voice actors who we have and probably will keep bringing up.
Mm-hmm. Phil Lamar's resume is just so stupidly long. As long as my own dick that I cannot suck.
As long as Wilt's arm.
Yeah, okay, that's a better one.
Yeah, I'm going to keep both of them in.
Fuck.
Eduardo, the Latin American blue protector. Latin American purple protector. I don't know how I did that.
Are you okay
I have it
today?
written in front of me. I need to put my glasses on or something. I don't know where my brain is. Like I'm like halfway between concentration and not. Eduardo, the Latin American purple protector with a sweetheart, is voiced by Tom Kenny. Also, another extremely famous voice actor in the biz, who we've definitely mentioned before. This is the voice of SpongeBob.
Yeah, like
this is a heifer from Rocco's Modern Life.
If you don't know Tom Kenny, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like the Ice King from Adventure Time as well. Like it's any vaguely high pitched, quirky character, which is ironic because Eduardo is not high pitched. He is quirky.
He's got range.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But Tom Kenny probably is in your favorite show.
Yeah, definitely. And we've mentioned him already. We've 100%.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
We have Coco the chicken palm tree Pokemon.
I love Coco. If I had to have any imaginary friend, I'd have Coco. I genuinely love her to bits.
Coco is great. The voice of reason most of the time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because if you can only say one word, you are reasonable.
100%.
When your vocabulary expands beyond that, you start to get into a lot of paradoxes and just dig your own hole. If you just say Coco, you can't lose.
Yeah, just say Coco with different levels of inflection and
and it works. It just works.
Voiced by Candy Milo. Also the voice of Madame Foster as well, the kooky elderly founder of Foster's Home. Nice. Candy is the voice of Mom from Cow and Chicken, and if you remember our Mucha Lucha episode, she's the voice of the Flea and Headmaster. Mistress.
Wonderful. The Headmaster from Mucha Lucha is very hot, and I quite like her.
Very, very Step on Me vibes, and we've mentioned our respective lust. Admiration?
Yeah, lust is the right word. I think like per episode I tried to hit every deadly sin. And lust is usually the first one down.
Wait until Wrath shows up.
Oh, that was all cat scratch.
Mr. Harriman, the elderly stuffy businessman, head rabbit friend, imagined by Madame Foster, is voiced by Tom Kane, who is, that's right, you remember from 2 episodes ago, the voice of Professor Utonium, and him.
Absolutely.
From Powerpuff.
Yeah, and there's a reason there's a lot of crossover because, as we said, Craig McCracken, creator of both shows. So he obviously just was like, yeah, they did a great job last time. Let's just hire them again.
Yeah. And then we have Frankie Foster, the redheaded granddaughter of Madame Foster, who works as the caregiver and probably sole worker of the establishment.
And if she wasn't working there, she would be working in GameStop because that's just how she dresses.
Yep. Dresses really cool.
Yeah, no, like absolutely. I kind of adore Frankie. I know that was a bit of a roast, a bit of a shit one, but I would live and die for Frankie.
Yeah, 100%. I would put her up there as definitely one of my childhood crushes.
Oh yeah, I think everyone. Yeah.
Voiced by Grey DeLisle.
Absolutely, yeah. Grey DeLisle, we've mentioned her before. Queen Azula, you can't go wrong. Love her to bits. She's so prolific for playing just psychopaths, but Frankie is lovely.
Yeah, and we mentioned from our K&D episode that she is Grandma Stuffins.
The terrifying Grandma Stuffins.
As well. And some ones that we haven't mentioned are Kimiko Tohomiko from Xiaolin Showdown, as well as Sam Manson from Danny Phantom, which then kind of and more importantly, Yumi Yoshimura from Hi Puffy Ami Yumi, which now ropes her in as pretty much every single character that I believe I had a crush on as a child.
You had a crush for the girls from Ami Yumi?
Yeah, obviously.
Oh, what? They were two-dimensional, dude. Wait,
all cartoon characters are two-dimensional.
I know, okay, they're all two-dimensional, but they look like they're animated in MS Paint. Fuck off.
What? Does that matter? they were cool.
They're dressed like the goth and the hippie. They're hot. It's fine.
Yeah, they were the goth girl, and I was like, that's so cool. They're alt.
Oh no!
So the intro of the series, is entrancing. We get this this beautiful kind of like line work sketching of Foster's home being like drawn into reality, akin to the same way that the Disney logo is slowly drawn as the outline kind of goes across.
Yeah, but then the sheen of capitalism is not on this, so we're good.
So it's cleaner, obviously. And as it's being drawn into reality, we kind of get this whole it really captures this sense of the world being imagined, right? And we're inhabiting that sort of imagination-filled world, and it's fantastic. Also, it uses a kazoo in its opening theme and a lot of the musical motifs throughout the series, and somehow it's not annoying.
It's the one and only time a kazoo hasn't made me want to wring somebody's neck. They do really well here. Because I had just come off, a couple of friends of mine recently did a kazoo competition, and I wanted to die.
Yep.
It was so, I fucking hated it so much. They were having fun. That's great. I'm very proud of them. I fucking hated every moment. But no, the Foster's theme is genuinely so fucking joyous. It's a kazoo and a piano, and I think they're just background instruments, but the main thing is the kazoo and the piano, and it just works so fucking well.
Yeah, and fortunately for me, being the one that's closest to Lily in most manners when they're expressing their rage, I was saved from violent outburst by potential kazoo trauma.
Only because you're in Sligo right now.
Oh, I know, and I thank my lucky stars every moment that I've escaped your fury.
I like how you have the same relationship to me that the other homunculus and the Fullmetal Alchemist have to Sloth. You just stay the fuck out of the way and let them do their thing.
Can I be Gluttony?
Yeah, you can be Gluttony. That's okay. You're bald enough for it.
I am bald now. I just like the beady eyes and big arms.
Oh no.
Something that's a bit unique to Foster's Home compared to the other shows that we covered so far is that the first 3 episodes of Foster's Home is more of a mini feature film.
Yeah, it's a film divided into 3 parts, all called House of Blues Part 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. So the structure of this episode of Cartoon Calamity is going to be a little different to match the slightly different structure of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
100%. And in a way, this is kind of like a dry run of our soon-to-be aired on Patreon, the Patreon exclusive content of our review of Tarzan.
Yeah, so if you would like to hear our review of Tarzan, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/Cartoon Calamity and subscribe to either the €5, €10, €25, or €50 tier. All of those will unlock the Patreon exclusive episodes. Every single month, we will be reviewing an animated film, and this month, it's going to be Tarzan.
We start off with an introduction to our dynamic duo as they're being hunted down by Mac's older brother, Terrence. A perfectly awful bully archetype, voiced by the lovable Tara Strong.
Tara Strong, who is a lovely woman, but plays somebody I grew to really fucking hate in the 3 parts of this show.
Oh yeah. Terrence is so fantastically constructed as being the most diluted version of the Stephen King evil bully character, right?
Yeah, it starts off kind of like stereotypical stuff, like basically the bully from Toy Story or Toy Story 2, I can't remember. Just stuff that you'd if you're writing a high school drama, you would write.
Yeah.
But it eventually evolves into him just being a fucking awful person.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a fun moment at the very beginning of their chase where Blue and Mac outrunning Terrence end up causing him to accept his own idiocracy before he ends up pouncing on the duo. Terrence then tries to hold back Breaky and Mr. Destructo from trashing the house, but is too weak to stop their carnage. To give a little bit of nuance to that, Terrence respectively calls Blue and Mac Breaky and Mr. Destructo,
which are awesome names.
Them. I know, right? They're the coolest fucking names. They're sick.
I'm actually going to legally change my name again to Breaky if you want to take Mr. Destructo.
Oh, fuck yeah. I definitely want Mr. Destructo as my first name. I'll take that. Fuck yeah. I'll go around with like a mohawk and just start kicking the shit out of things.
When they're kind of like destroying the sitting room as well, it all comes to a head when Blue fucking murders Terrence.
Yeah, just straight up bodies him.
Yeah, no, they recreate the scene in American History X where Edward Norton curb stomps a guy.
It was actually quite disturbing how the film, the actual mini film, went from being, full of color to just fully black and white.
Absolutely. And then when Blue took off his shirt and the swastika was there on his chest, it's really unexpected, but it subverts a lot of the expectations.
Yeah. Mac's mom shows up, fortunately saving Terrence from being too brutalized, and addressing the damage of the house. But Terrence starts groveling about how he was the one being bullied, right? And Mac and Blue were the ones causing all of this. There's actually quite a fun twist, I believe, on this part. I like it, where I would kind of expect that a lazier writer would just have Mac being punished by his mom, accepting Terrence at his word. Whereas what they do is they have Mac's mom call out Terrence for being like a 13-year-old being falsely bullied. Like, how the hell could he be bullied by an 8-year-old and a goo monster? Like, how? There's no way. He's a teenager, and he's like. But in fact, then the inciting incident to lead us into the kind of the beginning of the first act, right, is that Blue and Mac have to be separated because Mac Mac ought to be too old to have like an imaginary friend still, right? And his mom is really just doing this out of care for him, as opposed to doing this out of just like some sort of comeuppance that would be like deserved if he was like accepted to be the one that caused like the destruction of the house, right?
Yeah, like it's that type of thing. It was actually a moment where I very much agreed with the parents for the most part. I didn't agree with like Mac's too old for an imaginary friend. I think that's fine. But the kind of reasonableness of like, if you can't get along, one of you have to go. It's that type of deal. And like, it could very well be the only parent in cartoon history where like did something normal and like very reasonable.
Yeah. The thing is that that Mac's home life is shockingly realistic in its depiction of like what it is like to be in the care of like a single parent in like a middle class or like lower middle class kind of household, right? Where she's the one basically taking care of everyone, forcing the two brothers to have to deal with each other for a predominant amount of time with each other, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy that they brought something so akin to life, something so relatable to the actual to the show.
Absolutely. I came from a single parent household. Now there's a bit of an age gap between my two elder sisters and me. So by the time I was kind of left in the house on my own without my mom, they were already at the age where they were working. But the times when my mom was working and my sister was home, we would just interact with like that. Sometimes there were arguments, but for the most part, it was just harmless shit. And just like, let's just get on with it. So I found myself just like, oh, this is slice of life. Cool.
I can map upon elements of like my own kind of upbringing with this kind of like dynamic, which is
absolutely.
It's quite crazy.
I never tried to kill my sisters. No, actually, no, that's a lie. When I was very young, apparently I smashed a mug over my sister's head for blocking the television.
Yeah, well, she shouldn't have blocked the television.
I know, she was in my way. What are you going to do,
What was on?
I believe Teletubbies.
She deserved it.
Yeah, like what? Like, get the fuck out of here.
So,
Kyla, if you are listening to this, I'm not sorry at all. You deserved it. I can't remember doing it, but I'm glad I did it.
just someone to validate it. That's all they needed. So afterwards, we get this montage of TV clips where this is a trope. I don't know exactly what the trope is called, but the television clips in sequence kind of convey the message and sincerity of the previous scene, right? The clips are like a host telling the guest that they have to leave, an homage to Lassie where the kid is telling Lassie to leave, the stain remover that causes stains to just like that, they're gone, levels of clean, right? Then finally, which is I think is actually good, which I think this moment, this kind of like scene is a microcosm of like the level of comedy and like the beats of comedy that they kind of have in this throughout the entire show and even throughout the entire movie, where the final punch, which breaks the 3-point rule. You know, if anyone knows comedy theory,
by all means explain it, because no one's gonna fucking know that.
And as much as everyone knows, the funniest part about jokes is when you have to dissect them theoretically, right? So
we say on a podcast that ruins cartoons from our childhood, like fuck off.
So the rule of threes when it comes to comedy is that most often the funniest moment of like the repetition of a joke or the repetition of a punchline, the repetition of a sequence is often the third time. That's the time that our brains usually recognize it as being the funniest moment, right? So if you say things in threes, our brains kind of work in like this. There's a little part of a lizard brain that finds it the funniest at the third, or the most entertaining or engaging at the third, right? We either remember it more, so it impacts the punchline severity, when it's at its third point, or it is just something where we, like, you see a person fall down once, you repeat the clip 2 more times, you're probably laughing a little bit more at the third time, right? But this kind of scene breaks that format a little bit, but hits a funnier punchline, I believe, when it has the Blues album commercial where the titles are like Feeling Blue, Getting Rid of the Blues, Nobody Wants the Blues, right? Within it has its rule of 3, but it's part of a rule of 4, which is it's funny. It subverts and also
conforms.
Thank you so much. Conforms to these kind of rules, and that's what the show does so fantastically.
Yeah, no, like you can tell. I want to think the storyboarding on this was really fucking tight. Because like it just hits every single beat it needs to. I found myself genuinely laughing, and this is only the first 3 episodes as well. Generally, with shows like this, it just ramps up as the more it goes on.
And also, this is scripted. This is scripted and produced like a feature. It works on the same pacing as like a 1-act, 2-act, 3-act kind of like story, right? So
yeah, this is a movie that happens to be broken up into 3 episodes.
Exactly. Yeah. So it still uses that same level of like pacing, but even within like a slower paced feel, it's able to cram in funny moments all the way through, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the Grand Canyon was a good one. I thought you'd like this one, so I wrote it down in particular. That it's like the Grand Canyon is spectacular. I love the deepest depressions in the world.
It's like, this clearly wouldn't be a tourism ad. And the Grand Canyon, it's a beautiful, majestic place that you can be killed in at any moment. And it's really, really sad. It used to be native land and we drove them off. It's like if Foilcha Ireland, which is the tourism board here, just like they release an ad with like Darrow Breen or some shit. Just like, and you know, as they always say, the luck of the Irish will bless you. But historically, the luck of the Irish has actually been shit, and in fact is written in blood.
Just starts listing off events from the Troubles.
That's like, yeah, listing off colonial atrocities that has happened in the last 500 years. That's the Irish Tourism Board.
Yeah, I think that's the most Irish thing you could possibly do, is list off the 500 years of oppression.
It's 800 years, fucking prick.
Exactly, there we go. Rage flicking through channels, Blue ends up stumbling upon an ad for Foster's, where the idea is kind of like, what was the tagline? Where good ideas are not forgotten. That's the one, which I thought was quaint. And that kind of spurs on their eventual venture to the next scene, their venture to Foster's home to find a place for Blue to stay. Blue is, I'd say, kind of like the id to Mac's ego, right? Blue is the eccentric, chaotic element to Mac's sort of like more introverted, reactionary mindset. And it's kind of very exemplified by the fact that Blue is the one who's bringing Mac out of his shell to Foster's home. It's Blue's the one spurring this. And you'll find that a lot of the things kind of spur that way.
I like to think that the imaginary friends trope almost in this show, like they're made to complement whoever makes them.
Yeah.
For example, I know because I remember watching, I think it was the film when I was younger. You find out Wilt's backstory was a kid in like the inner city who wasn't that good at basketball. So obviously he imagined an imaginary friend that is a Harlem Globetrotter, essentially. So it's that type of deal. And I think that's really cool. And that's kind of what you want in an imaginary friend, because that's what you want in a friend. You don't want somebody who's essentially an echo chamber. You want somebody who will like challenge you a little bit, but like in a very respectful way.
Wholly constructive for the development of the children that they're involved with, right?
Yeah.
Which kind of make, even saying that makes you think, like, what the fuck was the Duchess used for then? What kind of fucked up child?
Some fucking spoiled Republican Fine Gael fucking bitch. I don't know, man. Like, the Duchess is actually horrifying.
We meet Harriman, the head of business affairs, and I love him. It's just a character.
You'd think you'd hate him. You'd think he's this authority figure who's like very up his own hole and very snuffly, but he's actually lovely. And I think in a lot of ways really inspired Nanachi in Made in Abyss.
Oh my god. Probably.
Bring it
very,
back.
Very
Bring it back to Made in Abyss all the time. Much like Rico from Made in Abyss, I'm always brought back to the hole.
And this hole is all consuming and will take every part of you.
Give us money on Patreon so we can start doing an anime podcast.
Just like my ex-wife.
What?
Just making I don't know, a hole that sucks away parts of your being. I don't know.
Yeah, we're really going to hit that boomer market. Hot damn.
2% of our audience.
2% of our audience. Fuck yeah, it's 40 to 59. If you're the 40 to 59-year-old who's listening to this, hi. Ex-wife Jeff Dunham. I don't know. What do you listen to?
I go fishing. We love you. We sincerely love you.
We love all our viewers, of course.
Something fun about Harry is that as much as he's like stuffy and he's all business is the best way of putting it. He every time he moves, he has this very like satisfying thudding noise of this like and like
it sounds like a beanbag hitting a crash mat or something.
It's just so satisfying. This is so completely like, I guess like not to 100 from like, you know, something that's kind of like a critical assessment of the media to just like my reptile brain goes, this is nice, because it is. It's so satisfying.
I could make a work of art, but I'd rather pop the bubble wrap the work of art came in. You know?
I would though. Sometimes would. And you're lying to me if you'd say otherwise, okay?
Shut up! I want to at least give off the impression that I know what I'm doing.
So Blue kind of outs the tragic life that Mac is enduring, right? Or the sincerity of the tragedy, right? And it's kind of like wild, right? That he goes very kind of in on like a very real explanation of what's happening in his life.
Yeah, like, so he's begging Mr. Harriman to let Blue, or Blue is begging Mr. Harriman to let him stay at Foster's at that point. They also do a really good joke where Blue gets on his knees, or tries to, but he doesn't have knees, because if you've ever seen Blue, he's just like in the shape of a bullet.
Yeah, I'm glad that you went bullet, because there's so many other things that we could have said.
Do you want me to say dildo? I can say wall-mounted dildo.
Like condom.
He's phallic. Blue is phallic.
Yeah, he's like a deuce.
He's just a big piece of shit.
Yeah. Oh no, I meant like a douche. Sorry, the thing that you wash out your butthole or vagina with.
That's not better.
Oh, is that?
Connor, you remind me of a bidet. Thanks.
Oh my god, I love bidets.
I know, they're superior to toilet paper in every way.
They're so good, okay? I'm getting to a point where I just kind of feel like I like fuck toilet paper. I might as well just like step in the shower and clean my butt out that way.
But like, know? It's so much better. You feel cleaner. It's also cheaper. There's less space, because I find toilet paper takes a lot of space up. You know,
there's nothing more like satisfying than having just like a little like stream of water hitting your starfish, you know?
Absolutely. And like, say, like, I've been in a position where maybe I've used a bit too much toilet paper and I've blocked the toilet, and that's always a pain in the hole to fix.
Yeah.
And if you get shit in your shower, you just waffle stomp it down the drain.
Yeah, and I try not to throw myself off a waffle stomp after I fucking registered it fully. God damn it. And I've got a very sensitive, like, I've got a sensitive butthole, okay? All right, and I don't like some of that rough toilet paper shit. Okay, I'm not about it. Does even if it's like 16 ply Carex koala hug. All right, it's still it can still kind of irritate it. Okay, and I'm not
absolutely. Our assholes were made to be caressed, not fucking sandpapered.
Gently tongued by the lapping waters of a bidet.
Absolutely. So invest in a bidet today. This isn't an ad, but if any bidet company wants to sponsor us, we'll do this bit again. We don't mind.
Yeah. Which, take notes. Advertise people that want advertisers.
We will sell anything.
I'll sell anything.
Except Robin Hood. Fuck Robin Hood.
Yeah. Take it from the rich and give it to the rich.
Sure, fuck it. Why not?
Harry organizes a tour. We get like a carnival of creatures that are just kind of like appearing all around the lobby while the duo are waiting for Frankie to show up.
Yeah, like you can really tell the animators had a lot of fun with this because obviously it's an imaginary friend's home, so you can just make them look like whatever. And they did that. They genuinely did that, and it was actually like quite a joy to see. You'd think the colors would be messy, but they all work really well together. Just because they create such a stampede of kind of overwhelmingness.
Everything in there is like fantastically well imagined and brought to life in this kind of it constructs a universe where you can accept the believability of like anything that can be like conceived is then actually physically possible in existence, right? It's something that kind of like is it hits the reality of a thing that happened earlier in the movie where Mac's mom is trying to explain why Blue needs to be like sent away, but Mac retorts with like, everyone on the streets you see imaginary friends. Everyone has an imaginary friend, and in that universe, right, in that macro lore, everyone just like lives in a world where we accept like imaginary friends floating about the place, right?
You can astral project a being into existence in this world.
Yeah,
but only one, I think.
I believe so. I'm not fully sure. And it apparently takes some amount of psychical power, as we'll get on to a little bit further. And also, I believe that if anything, this is more of a reference to the fact that the creators of this show are aware that our ancestor blood is that of the Anunnaki, who are 18-foot tall psychic beings who are capable of creating matter with their minds.
Oh, that went on a tangent. I like zoned out just a little bit, and I came back to you. I'm pretty sure that's the founding ideology of Scientology.
There's this monster covered in eyes, and there's also this Care Bear dragon hybrid that shows up in like the lobby, as well as this like furry long creature with like 50 feet. Frankie seems to be the only worker in this place. Frankie's the only worker in this place and is on beck and call for anything that has to be done in Foster's.
If she doesn't get a shining reference when she moves on.
Yeah, I think she's just going to end up being the one in charge of Foster's after...
Oh, Madame Foster can't die.
Yeah. Oh, she's immortal?
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Basically for everything. So she's the one kind of like, I would assume overworked by taking care of all of these imagined children creations, right?
She's running a fucking an orphanage by herself. Like, yeah, she is overworked. Also, she's implied to not be much older than like 1920.
She's 22.
22, yeah, like that's fucked. That's utterly fucked.
Voice of the Duchess issues as she's calling Frankie to help her, and is then has to be subbed down by Wilt. And this is our first introduction to Wilt, who is this wonderful sweetheart.
Yeah, he like because they're trying to clean the sheets, I believe, and like he balls it up, and you can hear the Harlem Globetrotter whistle motif in the background. And you can tell like Wilt's whole thing is that he's basically a basketball player with one arm, but obviously was abandoned by his child. So I ended up in Foster's home. But he's horrifyingly nice and reminds me of my housemate quite a bit. To the point where, like, nice to the point of fault. Where I'm like, please stand up for yourself, for fuck's sake.
Oh, Wilt is like so sweethearted that he assumes that he's disturbed the boys, Mac and Blue, by the sight of his broken arm and like wonky eye, but they're just so in awe by this like really tall basketball built character.
It's how kids react to me.
Yeah, I wonder and awe.
Because I obviously during Christmas and stuff, I work a lot of children's entertainers jobs, which I've mentioned before. But like the kids always look at me because I'm 6'4", covered in tattoos, and usually my hair is a weird color. So like they see me as like, yeah, that's just a cartoon. That's not a real person. So I know the feeling of like, whoa, look at this one, and I it's like almost like a very wholesome freak show.
Magical being. Oh my god.
Woo!
I've stepped into Narnia. Hello.
I'm like Mr. Tumnus, but I can swear.
Yeah. So we get like a rapid sequence. We get rapid sequence of different areas in the Foster's home, before like getting like a short description of like who Madame Foster is, who's I guess like the Mother Teresa of imaginary friends, except like.
Well, let's give her more credit because Mother Teresa was kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, I was gonna also caveat, except like but good. So yeah, she's the patron saint of abandoned imaginary friends. During that kind of like sequence, and following that this moment where we encounter Madame Foster's like not bust, it's a self-portrait. The different areas that are revealed show like paint Foster's home to be this insane madhouse of just different elements of like expressionist art styles and different like contemporary and modernist and like the antique designs, which really kind of goes to the point you made, which was that the artists on this, the animators, everyone involved with this just must have had a field day creating and expressing any amount of their imagination as they wanted. You know, the palettes that are used for most of the backgrounds are very kind of like the same, akin to when we talked about Ed, Edd n Eddy, how the backgrounds would kind of stay in very similar like one wash colors, but elements within them would be highlighted more, and it's just fantastic. There's like rooms are there's a Roman architecture room, and then there's also like kind of gothic, more modern styles as well. It's crazy. It's wild. It's wild.
It also kind of ties into another big strength of this show. It's one of the very manic camera movements, which in any other context I would fucking hate, but they time it with the lines and the music in this show. I don't know if you noticed, but it works so fucking well when you actually do it to a beat. Because like a big thing is when they're going through the rooms and it matches up to the music, and like Wilt is almost singing the different names of the rooms while he's going through them. There's also a moment where Coco and Ed are doing a scene together. Eduardo, sorry, who haven't met yet, but we'll get into. And they're trying to have a conversation with each other, and Coco, by her very nature, is quite manic, and Eduardo like is quite soft spoken. But it gets increasingly more manic camera movements as Eduardo is trying to communicate with Coco more and more. And I think the camera movement, ironically, for a show that doesn't have cameras because it's animated, is just fucking superb. And it's something that a lot of people don't think about, because you need to match up your camera movements with the sound that's coming through as well. And Foster's does it to an amazing level. Oh yeah, completely agree. The cinematography in the show is fantastic, and the beat by beat of going through and that kind of like, I guess like a spoken word poem of like here are all the rooms, that kind of. It reminds me a lot of Edgar Wright's work. If I can make like a real world comparison. Oh yeah, 100%. We meet Coco in this kind of pretty comical encounter where she starts Pokemoning to Blue, who replies thinking that she's offering Coco, which again, it's this kind of thing. It just keeps going through. They keep going, they keep hammering home. It's like yes, of course I want Coco. Yeah. Then when it's revealed that Will can actually understand her, we have this like subversion of a subversion, I guess, where Wilt ends up telling Blue and Mac that what Coco was offering was juice, and even the show can mimic how like the music mimics the tone of like, yes, this was a dumb joke, and I thought that was kind of fun. Like there's a self-awareness that is
breathing through the entirety of the show. That's great.
The show is quite self-aware. There's going to be a few more instances, particularly there's a moment in the last episode, you probably know what I'm talking about. Yeah, no, I really adore this show for its writing. I think it doesn't treat the audience like they're dumb kids. It treats them like people who are just at that age. And I think that what really makes a strong cartoon and Foster's is that.
All the while through this montage of different locations that we get of the inside of the Foster's home, we get glimpses of Eduardo, who is just kind of hiding in the background, causing Mac to assume that there may actually be monsters here, because Eduardo on first glance is a little bit monstrous, right?
Yeah, he looks like the kind of Quasimodo furry type, you know?
Yeah. This kind of prompts Mac to ask if there are actually monsters there, where we're then introduced to what are Extremosauruses, which I think kind of is a badass looking like introduction to a character, because like maybe I'm just like I'm still a 90s edgy boy, right?
Yeah.
But seeing a creature locked in a giant iron box, chained down, just like struggling to escape, just looks kind of sick, right?
It does a little bit, I'll admit. Like it I did kind of want to get a better look at them. We only kind of see glimpses and appendages of the various monsters, except for one at the end.
These Extremosauruses are imagined by teenagers, which is a fun one as well. So
all they do is scream and shout racial slurs. That's it.
Yeah, I guess all the kids next door. The purity of your innocence and childhoodness leaves as a teenager, and you only can create monsters, right?
A lot of these shows did a great job making me like dread turning 13, and all that happened is that I got some pubic hair and some pimples.
Yeah. And I wish I got more hair, but I only got less and less.
Oh, Connor. Oh no.
As they are in front of the giant iron box, Mac is grabbed by the Extremosaurus, and Eduardo comes to save the day, rescuing Mac and cradling in his arms, crying. I find just so wonderful that we have Eduardo, who is this like bestial looking character, kind of like a la a lucha libre. I feel kind of is a tone to it.
That's definitely his vibe. He has kind of the look of a big heel wrestler, but then you see him act. There's a wrestler in AEW called Luchasaurus, kind of reminds me of that, who is a 6'8" wrestling dinosaur is his gimmick, and you'd think that's going to be like, oh, he's a monster. He's lovely. And his whole gimmick is that he's actually quite a nice person who just happens to be a wrestling dinosaur.
So this poor lovable giant is then chased around by Blue, who assumes in some level of reasonability that Eduardo is another monster. But Eduardo is just in sheer fear and panic of Blue, which is a feat to behold, that you could be afraid of such a tiny creature.
It's like when the elephants see the mice and they just get freaked out because they don't see the mice ever in the wild, and they just fucking like faint.
100%. Just loops around the group until eventually Coco explains that everything will be fine, and we basically get a calming down as everyone like explains that Eduardo is actually like a friend, a very nice character. Afterwards, we're introduced to Foster's Equestria staples. Yeah, they own Pegacorns, which is pretty awesome, and Pegasi and unicorns.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, someone should really make a show about those.
Yeah, which would be a great show. They also make a Mojo Jojo reference, which is good, because the point that was made is that some kids that invent monsters here, or not monsters, some kids that invent imaginary friends here are just unimaginative, right? They just reference, like, just imagine what they see on TV, which I thought was great.
Yeah, and it's just Mojo Jojo standing there with a fucking dumbass look on his face.
Coco lays Kinder eggs when she's happy, which is great.
They turn out to be very useful. It reminded me a lot like Kite from Hunter x Hunter, his power.
You're right. Yeah, it's a really good comparison.
That's a fairly obscure reference that I think like 4 of our viewers might get, but still.
Then at the end of the tour, Blue and Mac hear the heartbreaking truth that if Blue is actually left at Foster's is not a boarding house, but it is in fact an orphanage. It's an adoption location where if accompanied for too long, Blue will be put up for adoption. Mac then goes home.
Yeah, this is going to episode 2, by the way, isn't it?
Yeah. I watched all of it as one movie though, so I.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We should, just to kind of break it up and just be like, hey, if you're watching this in a like on, I think it's on Disney Plus or something like that, but whatever. If you're watching it like this is episode 2, so this is part 2 of the film. And
the second act.
Yeah, exactly. But what happens is throughout this whole time, kind of music and background noise has been used very well in Foster's. But for this moment, and there's a comparison because Blue is also trying to settle into Foster's home and like getting his bed and stuff. And there's just silence. It's actually like very powerful. The only noise is Wilt trying to comfort Blue when it's on Blue sections. And even then it's still quite silent. But when it's on Max sections, it's completely silent.
Yeah.
And that's very rare for a cartoon. Because obviously they're made for children. So like people have it in their head that children need constant stimulus. And they don't. They need to be respected, to be honest, with proper storytelling. And this is it. It works super fucking well. It makes an already quite sad moment actually quite a bit of a gut punch, and I didn't expect it.
100%. It really kind of sells the heartbrokenness of the scene, especially like the contrast between like the more exaggerated animation style before that, which is something that I think is more particularly applicable to like Max scenes, where everything is a lot slower and all of the actual movements are more subtle. Whereas still in Foster's home, as much as there is the mirroring, the one-to-one of like Blue trying to fit in, it's still more like exaggerative, right? There's more animation, I guess, happening on one side, which I thought was again something that really kind of like sold the general somber tone of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you didn't expect it from this show, but just immediately it hits you with like, hey, this is a goofy show, but we can still get you, you know?
We can get you.
Yeah. We can get you.
Get the feels coming. I bet you weren't expecting to cry. Coco's also, as a note, one of the sweetest characters, and very, very much like an emotional center, which I feel like is encapsulated by the fact that she creates like a photo of Mac for Blue, which is very, very sweet.
It reminds me of kind of the relationship a lot of restaurant workers have, because I worked in a kitchen for a long, long time, and a lot of my coworkers didn't have good English, and like it's just this kind of bond you get when you can share. You can have your shared pain, and if you're working in a restaurant, there's a lot of shared pain. But it was a very sweet moment. There was this Polish guy I was working with, and we were just prepping some garlic. We were just chopping it up and whatever. And I was doing it wrong because I was still quite new at it. And he just stopped me and then just showed me how to crush it and then chop it. And it would just make it easier. But he still didn't say a word. But we kind of just had that moment and had that immediate bond. Which, this sounds like I'm setting up for a joke, but I'm not. It was just a very sweet moment. And I think you can kind of see that in what Coco did for Blue.
I'm imagining the scene from Ghost.
Yes, he spooned me and gave me a reach around while I was mincing garlic.
Yeah, and his barely Polish arm surrounded you, held a knife in your hands, slowly crushed the garlic.
Your hands are calloused and just so dry from washing your hands. This is awful. Why are you just please?
Crushed in the garlic, slowly whispering "bliat" into your ear.
Rush B.
After the quite like heartbreaking scenes, we have the most bourgeois family showing up. Bourgeoisie, sorry.
Oh, like perfect fucking Aryans. Like
yes, yeah. They show up with this disgusting creature in tow. This little fucking monstrous.
I don't want to call it a
ball
child.
of hell. Yeah, I completely agree. They're looking for an imaginary friend to adopt. Fortunately, assumedly, we're going to have this great moment, like match made in heaven, right? Of the Duchess, pompous for pompous, right? Like for like, coming
a cunt for a cunt,
exactly, right? Coming to basically like put the to bleed the money out of this like this fucking 1%er household, right?
Adoption is a scam. You're right.
Yeah. When the monsters scatter, fucking piece of shit. And this vile, disgusting thing is left alone with Blue. She immediately goes into torture mode, right? Attempts to, I don't know, eviscerate Blue, calling
the chippiest polka music plays in the background while Blue and co go on a chase scene throughout the mansion.
Yeah, Eduardo thankfully like rescuing Blue in the last moment, followed by what is actually such a great scene. They describe it's this great semi-competitive rescue mission for Blue from this like entity, right?
It was really well choreographed. Like everything's going in. It looked a bit like obviously inspired by Benny Hill and that type of thing because you even have the classic door thing where they all go through. Like you see in Scooby Doo a lot. And they're all like like I said, it ends up being a competition between Wilt, Coco, Eduardo, and the spoiled prick, trying to get Blue, and they're competing against each other, and they forget the end goal of protecting Blue from the spoiled prick.
Which is so wonderful because, as you said, like the choreo is so well composed, and they all play off of each other in such like a fantastic way. Like Wilt is basketball, like at one point like slam dunks Blue out of Eduardo's hand.
Like this slow motion slant, like proper Space Jam shit.
It's so cool, and they complement each other so fantastically, and it does end up roping together with them all like on top of each other, laughing about how they all wanted the same thing.
I think it's a metaphor for the left.
Yeah, it. You could just have the entire thing where you just have leftists superimposed on each one of them, and then like Blue is the issue.
As Karl Marx said, we should squabble over petty shit while the planet dies from capitalism.
Oh, fuck. So, the Beast 666 captures Blue and brings them up to Harriman's office, while each of the imaginary gang pleads for his release, calling him smelly, vicious, and whatever Coco said.
Coco.
Yeah. So Coco. Passionately, though.
Absolutely. Coco. Ah, yes, Coco. But unfortunately, the love child of Idi Amin and Benito Mussolini realizes... That's the one that pushed you over the edge, really?
Oh, let's go. It got me.
Oh god. But yeah, she realized that she does not want Duchess, in fact, because even this thunder prick realizes that the Duchess is just a fucking awful thing.
Yeah, it's disgusting monster.
Absolutely. Like, this is a child's drawing on the Daily Mail. Like, that's what it fucking reminds me of. And it's
a crack addict had to draw Picasso.
It's how the British media views Meghan Markle. I'm in complete support of Meghan. She's based as hell. She wants to get rid of the fucking monarchy. It's class.
True that. Oh, that got me again.
Just full of zingers. We're good. But fucking demon spawn Satan incarnate realizes that Blue is actually, or Tiffany as she calls him, is the one she wants. And even Eduardo, Wilt, and Coco offered themselves up. And unfortunately, this fucking absolute West British East Yank looking motherfucker unfortunately calls Wilt broken, and that made me genuinely angry.
Yeah, that was sad. Like that kind of hurt. Where it's like broken, then Eduardo's a chicken, and then something that was actually kind of funny was Coco is that like you're a crazy chicken. I'm like, yeah, Coco is a crazy chicken.
That reminded me of something that happened to me at at Christmas.
You were called a crazy chicken?
No, I was called very crazy because I was doing the whole elf thing because I was like a guide elf to bring people to Santa. And like it was one of the quieter days, and this young one came in with her granny, and the granny was great crack. She was playing along, but the young one fucking hated my guts and kept calling me crazy. So what you do there is you lean the fuck into it.
Oh yeah.
So I just went off the fucking wall. Like management even like got out of their office to look at what I was doing because the granny, I was genuinely worried was going to have a stroke from laughing so hard. And even when the kid was leaving, because they went to see, I leave them at Santa and then Santa takes care of him. And when the kid was leaving, I shouted down the hall, "Goodbye, Saoirse! Saoirse, I'll miss you, bye!" And like she looked like she wanted to die, but the granny would like genuinely left a tip. And that's the first time I got a tip from that job.
Yeah, you met the real life Miss Foster.
Yeah.
I'm so envious of that encounter. That's wonderful. Mac comes back in the nick of time to keep Blue from the grip of the Leviathan, and Duchess and Frankie have this like wonderful animosity towards each other that I think is kind of exemplified by this moment where the papers are all torn up. All of the chances of Duchess being like released from the captivity of Foster's home and her torturous fucking existence as being a piece of shit. There's these fun little moments between herself and Frankie. They're just these consistent jabs, which I thought was just like, it's a fun relationship. It's a fun dynamic to see played out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the hate relationship that so works well. It reminds me of my housemates when I first moved to Galway. Actually, the majority of them were grand. There was this one bitch who I hated, and she just never paid her bills. But she reminds me of Duchess. So, Stacey, if you're listening to this, fuck you. Go fuck yourself. You were awful.
We've all had like bad roommates at some point, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah, like I had to live it. But anyway, so Jurmengon, the Eater of Worlds, eventually leaves after she is promised a pony from her parents.
This is when Blue Mac and the crew go out and play some like, I don't know, kickball, throw sport, and
ball
sport. So Frankie and Harry would have like a moment where they lay out the tragic dynamic of all kids and their imaginary friends, where how all of them will eventually the former will eventually tire the latter, leaving the imaginary friends in this recurring cycle of being loved and then abandoned. I think Frankie retorts at the end of it that Harriman's kid never grew tired of him. There's a little bit of like I wonder who Harriman's imaginer is.
Well, you don't have to wonder because then they show a painting of Madame Foster.
Yeah, it's right there on the wall. Yeah.
It's like that bit in Hot Fuzz, the fucking excellent bit where the shopkeeper is like doing the pose and then he moves and it's the exact picture of him behind him. But the ending of this episode, it ends with Terrence realizing what's going on. Mm-hmm. Terrence being Mac's older brother, and him and Duchess hatching a scheme in the bushes. And there's quite a risque joke that like is not even like subtle about it. And like I believe it's Duchess asks, let's hook up, which like that means sex. Everyone knows that to mean sex. And also, Terrence no older than 15, so not only sex, but statutory. Well, I don't know if it's statutory rape if one of them doesn't exist.
If you're an imagined creature?
Yeah.
You're not able to do that?
I don't know what the legality of it is.
You can't convict Barney. Barney's an imaginary character. He didn't touch me.
Maybe one of the actors who played Barney may have been convicted, so let's not go down that road.
That's exactly why I went down the road.
God damn it!
Yeah. Like I was gonna say Mr. Blobby otherwise, but I actually love Mr. Blobby, even though
Mr. Blobby can do no wrong except for like the nightmares.
Yeah, also being the most hated character, most animosity fueled creature.
Excuse you, I love British Freddy Krueger.
I love him too. He's so great. Like someone who just gets to walk onto a set, kicking the shit out of it, irritating everyone around them, triggering all like the B plus, like the C to B list celebrities in the fucking British airways is the greatest person I've ever encountered, right?
If I was ever on Deal or No Deal, I would just do judo throws on Noel Edmonds.
It would be so funny, wouldn't it?
No, it would be class.
Holy shit. Oh yeah, Mr. Blobby's great. I love Mr. Blobby. We have which is I assume episode 3, the third act, right?
Yeah.
Terrence intercepts Mac on his way to Foster's home, allowing him to basically like set up the plot of adopting Blue himself to end up torturing him. The Duchess gets herself captured by an Extremosaurus to delay the gang from stopping Terrence. Meanwhile, Mac tries to escape captivity, and as these threads start to unravel, Terrence ends up adopting Blue. Mac isn't freed in time, and the Duchess releases an Extremosaurus. And that encounter is so well woven.
They're really well woven together, and not only that, it's done without dialogue. It's done like as a silent movie. Again,
a masterpiece of show don't tell.
Oh, like that. That's exactly the phrase I would use to describe Foster's.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I was trying to find it for fucking ages. Yeah, show don't tell.
Yeah,
and it really plays into that. And fair fucking play to the animators. It's an absolute craft of love.
There is something so beautifully suspenseful about us knowing the the stakes that are at play while watching the countdown of each of these like events. You know, it's like putting 3 egg timers together and wondering which one is going to like unravel first, and you're just kind of there in suspense. It was so well created.
It's Rashomon. It's just fucking Rashomon.
Yeah, in a way. It is quite Rashomon in a matter.
Kurosawa just influences everything. I'm sorry, he's the best.
Like as soon as you start talking about cinema, it's like reductio ad Kurosawa, right?
He's so good. All his movies are bangers. He'd probably kill me for describing Seven Samurai as a banger, but like the sentiment is there.
Yeah, I love Bug's Life too.
Shut up. Ants is better.
Actually, yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
Also, it stars Cillian Murphy, but it's not Cillian Murphy.
Ants is so much better, and it has
absolutely.
a more interesting kind of like it's been so long since I watched Ants, but I believe it does have like a critique on the American military complex, right?
It does, yeah, absolutely.
That's like the main kind of crux of it. I fucking love it.
Yeah, it's really great. After this, the Duchess's plan kind of is realized by the crew. And the way Frankie screams Duchess, like you could feel the hate.
Yeah.
So the voice actor for Frankie, well fucking done. That was a genuine like, whoa, what the fuck did she do?
A fun thing I actually mentioned as well is that Grey DeLisle also voices the Duchess.
Oh, fun!
Yeah,
cool.
So that's kind of something as well that adds to this like fun interplay of them having like an animosity between each other, right? That it's just her voicing both ends of this argument. And yes, I completely agree. Like it's like she sells the animosity so fantastically. It's really this scene where we get the kind of reveal of Duchess being the main conspirer behind all of this plot. All of this plot is that Max starts slowly unraveling or slowly unveiling every little step that has led him to be in the position where he's too late. But the problem is that, as Mac explains it, his brother is so neurologically incapable of forming thoughts that he couldn't have possibly caused this whole plot to be planned, right?
My boy is too stupid to actually think of anything. And you can see that in the final scene. We'll get into it. But, like, he is a genuinely, like, impressively stupid person.
Yeah. Boy's brain is so smooth, thoughts don't stick.
This guy is like a tier 3 sub to Moon Moon.
Light bulb moment as everyone realizes that Duchess was the one behind it and now has the Extremosaurus in tow to destroy Blue. So we find ourselves in the junkyard.
Yeah, it smash cuts to a junkyard where they're meeting like they're fucking Russian gangsters.
Yeah, and Blue has no fucking clue who the Duchess is. Which is fucking wonderful. I love that undercutting of like the Duchess's malevolence, right? Where
it's a trope I see a lot where like the protag is so fucking suave and badass that they have no idea who the main antagonist is.
Yeah, completely.
It's kind of seen in John Wick because like he only knows the person who killed his dog. Everyone else is just a bystander.
And yeah, it like leads to Blue slowly being pieced together that the Duchess was someone that was there while the beast of the deep was attempting to like kidnap him from the home. Which then leads to the Duchess in sheer rage and fury, claiming that Blue will be erased from everyone's memory, causing everyone to say Blue who, which then provokes Blue and Terrence to dissect the syntactic validity of the statement Blue who. In regards to, will people actually forget who he is when people are saying Blue who because they be crying and remembering him? And you can't really forget something that is in remembrance, right? Because how could you mourn something that's not there? It's just great.
Terrence also takes Blue's side on it, which just shows his stupidity. Like the single like light bulb moment of like, oh, that's a good point. I'm just going to go completely in on it.
I didn't expect the doggy syntax. It was fun.
It was a really great scene. It did actually a genuine amount of character building for all three involved. And it was a really smart way to do it.
Blue is then hunted by the Extremosaurus when right
Pac-Man.
in the nick of time. Yeah, where the Chain Chomp
It's the chain jump from Mario.
When the gang shows up in the nick of time, riding on badass pegacorns.
Yeah, they're fucking Valkyries.
Damn right.
They're coming in. There's even like a guitar riff in the background, just like, and they come in fucking badass shit. A moment I really found quite funny was that the horns had tennis balls on the end, so no one gets hurt.
Yeah. Which what Terrence calls them like girly or sissy or whatever, and they unsheath their horns and dive at him, which is just fucking badass.
They're also revealed to have the thickest Brooklyn accents. They sound like construction workers.
Are we girly to you?
Are we girly to you, pal? It's like, damn. Man, My Little Pony would have been so much better if the ponies unionized.
Damn right, yo. That would have made the cum jar more interesting.
Fuck! Unionize the cum jar!
Here we go, audience members. To look up that in your free time.
Oh, no.
So, the gang attempt to rescue Blue, but unfortunately they can't actually do anything against the roided up chain chomp.
You skipped a small hurdle that they had to face that cut about a minute of animation time. Where Mac does the superhero landing and says, "Let's Blue this."
Oh yeah.
And everyone stops to criticize him because of how bad that line is, including Blue himself, who escapes and tells him, "What the fuck are you doing? That was a shit line." And I think even Duchess has a jab at him.
Yeah, everyone unanimously agreed that it was a terrible line. And I really sympathize with Mac right there, because it reminds me of most of the time I'm on this show and I'm just coming up.
They don't realize that our recordings are like 4 hours long and I spend most of it shitting on you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to work through my fucking stand-up set here. It's mostly like just terrible observations, you know?
They call me cannon fodder.
Yeah. Oh, what is cinema nouveau? There's no new vo anythings there. It's all old.
This is why your dad left you.
So true. So the chain chops, Bob chain. The chain chops chains are bombs. The chain chops chains are bomb chains. And this is revealed when Mac ends up trying to like martyr himself to click in Eduardo's hero mode to activate. It's the moment that they realize the bomb chains the chains are bombs that we start getting like the piecing together, the cogs turning in Mac's mind of like how to have everyone work together in their strengths to basically beat this creature. And it's the final kind of piece the final cog to turn is that Coco's constantly laying these eggs. So obviously the best way of solving it is to use Wilt's b-ball skills to throw the bomb balls that have been ripped off by Eduardo into Coco's eggs.
And it works.
It does.
They just recreate the fucking Hurt Locker and get rid of all of the bombs. It's great.
It's fucking sick.
And this whole time as well, Terrence and Duchess are just watching. And Terrence starts rooting for them because it's quite a good action scene. And Duchess does the most Irish mammy slap to the back of the head imaginable.
She tries to slap some sense into him. Gets him right upside the head. God. Foster's home owns a mystery machine, which I thought was a cool little like piece where Frankie just like drives the mystery machine van, like their Foster's home bus, I guess, to the junkyard. Also, Mr. Harriman is there to try and kind of like get the finality of the moment, where like everyone's there to try and like save them. At which point, then we get like a really cute Pac-Man reference where the chain chomp, now chainless, is like chasing Blue around, all Pac-Man, right?
Yeah, it goes like to a bird's eye view, and like a very clearly homage to the Pac-Man music plays.
Eventually, what the idea is that Mac and Blue will lead the chain chomp into Terrence and the Duchess, and basically like dupe them, you know.
He pulls a fucking Billy Mitchell and cheats at a video game.
It does. I mean, yeah, I was gonna do fair. I was gonna make a reference to, like, you know, where in action movies when the heat-seeking missile is going after the fighter pilot, and then it dupes and hits another plane. That kind of moment. But yeah.
I wanted to go with the Billy Mitchell reference so that eventually we will get sued and get publicity because he's a fucking stupid motherfucker.
Oh my god, I hope he actually. Hey, if you're listening, Billy Mitchell, I really like your false records.
Yeah, you don't deserve any of the records. You cheated on all of them, and you're a shitty person to boot.
Liar. That was a tepid one, but we'll take it. So, the chain job ends up swallowing both the Duchess and Terrence, but can't stomach something so rotten, and ends up spitting them both out.
And they then as well get fucking bodied by Vaz's a la the first episode.
Oh, yeah. That's right before they end up getting fully consumed by the chain. So Harriman congratulates Mac, but unfortunately informs him that the rules are still the rules, causing Frankie to rail against the idea, because how the hell could that be fair, right?
Yeah, they did all of this, and it's a very much like, well, we can just bend the rules for this one person. It's fine. Like, it takes that approach, which, like, is right. Generally, you can't make a universal rule for everyone. That's stupid.
Yeah, 100%. There's no universal maxims.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, that was philosophical. Apologies.
No, we're fine. Absolutely. No, I understood what you're saying. I said it in layman's terms because we have normal people listening.
Yeah. And I'm pretending to be writing papers this entire time.
But it ends the same way that Evangelion ends, where everyone like goes in a circle and they say congratulations and they clap, and then that's it done.
Oh, actually, you're missing the most important part, where Madam Foster,
played by Gendo Ikari.
Yeah. Introduced a la Willy Wonka on the carpet with just like the slow walking, except instead of like tumbling into which is the coolest introduction of any character in any piece of media. Fight me.
Gene Wilder is perfect in every way. I think we actually mentioned this on an episode before. Our sheer love for Gene Wilder.
Yeah, Gene Wilder is the greatest. Gene Wilder is so much of my childhood that it's not even funny.
So good.
But yeah, Madam Foster comes to the rescue using her imagination vision, I think.
Yeah.
To see how pure Mac and Blue are, resolving the conflict by basically having Mac promise to always visit Blue. It's at this point that we get Madam Foster like doing the hard confirm on Harriman being her imagined friend.
Yeah, it's quite cute, and like we said, Harriman, despite being a hard ass, is actually like quite a good character.
Yeah.
So it makes sense because Madame Foster, even though she's only in these 3 episodes for a grand total of maybe 3 minutes, she makes quite the impression, and you can tell like she's a very good person. The characterization in general for this show is excellent.
As Foster hugs her funny bunny, we get like an acceptance that like Mac and Blue are allowed to kind of like live symbiotically in this house, which is great. Then we get the ending. We get so from what I had, which was all of it together as one like little movie, right? Blue ends up shattering the fourth wall of like the mundane parts of episodes to come in the upcoming season.
I didn't have that. I watched it as 3 separate episodes, just in parts. And what happened was they did an opening that recapped the last episode that reminded me a lot of how Digimon used to do it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, except in this one, obviously, like Coco doesn't evolve and have a fucking Gatling gun on her back.
Unfortunately,
so, like, unfortunate. She'd be so much better with a Gatling gun on her back, just as a point.
When Kokumon showed up in the original run of Digimon.
Absolutely, I remember well. And they evolved, and all that changed was that they had a nipple piercing.
Yeah, that was it. That's all it was. But yeah, no, okay, awesome. So I guess that's kind of like the finale of it. That's
that's the first quote unquote 3 episodes or a movie, if you want to say. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
really well done, regardless.
Yeah, 100%. The there are so many things to love about Foster's, be it the general like whimsical imagination of the entire show that I think is fun imaginativeness of Kids Next Door. If you could just amp that up to the nth degree, right? You have Foster's Home. You have something that is so wonderfully wholesome while also filled with this excitability, this sheer just limitlessness of creativity, and it is an absolute beauty and fantastic show to go through. That it hits you with not only these really funny highs, but also really like heartfelt lows.
Absolutely, and kind of jumping off of that as well. I was saying it to you before we started recording, but it gave me very big Studio Ghibli vibes. In its use of whimsy and kind of how to portray childhood in a way that isn't patronizing.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, and I wouldn't be shocked. Like, every animator under the sun should really watch Studio Ghibli, and probably has. And I wouldn't be shocked if Studio Ghibli was a major influence on the animators of Foster's Home.
Yeah, I could accept that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Absolutely. And like the premise is quite similar to Spirited Away, for example. A lot of the kind of messaging of like doing what you love and it doesn't feel like work at all. It's quite similar to like Kiki's Delivery Service. And like it has all those kind of, and also like the creatures are quite like very similar to My Neighbor Totoro. It's that type of deal, and it captures childhood in that way that a lot of animation misses, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't know how to sing his praises any harder, to be honest. I feel like there's so many moments within this movie, which is what it is. It is just a movie, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, this, as far as like shows we've watched, just goes into the tier of go out of your way to watch it.
Completely. If it isn't abundantly clear by our our kind of like love for the show so far, it makes it I'm stumbling over how like hard it is to say how obvious it is that this won so many awards, you know, because it's
everything about it is perfect, and it takes influences from so many different areas. Because like in this one episode, we've described Studio Ghibli, we've described silent era cinema, we've described so many other different types of cartoons and anime. And it's not a shock that the people who worked on this clearly gave a shit.
Yeah, completely.
And ultimately, that's what makes a really great cartoon, and that's what you can see in all the other cartoons we've covered. So once again, for Foster's,
not all of them.
Sorry, the ones
Cat
that
Scratch.
we've said go out of your way to watch. Sorry, I should
Don't
don't fucking watch Cat Scratch.
Yeah, fuck that shit. I don't know.
We had to do that episode 3 fucking times.
Let's not relive that any further.
It's fine. It's done. It's out there. Anyway, on a lighter note, go watch Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. It is utterly, utterly wonderful.
Completely. And yeah, that has been us for that's been our episode of Cartoon Calamity. That we've been your Calamities. Have a fantastic time. Hope to have you listen again, and we love you.
Thank you so much to the Cartoon Calamity listeners. You make the show what it is, and we are so happy you are enjoying the show. Thank you so much again. If you want to contact us, make sure you get in contact with our Twitter at @cartoon_podcast or on Facebook, Cartoon Calamity. You will see us there. If you can't reach us there, we are on email as well, cartooncalamitypodcast@gmail.com. Email us with any queries you may have about the show, or just tell us how cool or bad we are. We just love engagement in general. And a special thank you to everybody on Patreon who subscribes to Cartoon Calamity. You are the guys who keep the lights on. You are the bread and butter of this show. And a special thank you to Lord Liquorcat, Charlene Rodriguez, Lauren Walsh Foodie, Olivia Ronan, Laura Doyle, Mark Breen, Ty Fleener, and Yasser.